Hello everyone and welcome to AskPolymathGeddy. I am your host of this experiment, PolymathGeddy. Thanks for your patience in waiting for another video. We do have a question from Ed Schwartz in Interlaken, New Jersey. His question is, quite simply, what is your qualification for knowing any better than the average Joe? I guess he's putting into question my credibility for even having a channel like this answering other people's questions. Fair enough. Sure, I'll answer the question. I think I've kind of gone through this already in previous questions, especially my first video where I introduced this channel and described my qualifications for doing so. But here I am again answering a question specifically about my qualifications in comparison to the average Joe for a channel like this. Well, basically, my answer is this. We could start with my intelligence to begin with. I represented quite an aptitude for intelligence at a very, very young age, and I have carried that over throughout the rest of my life up until today. I think it's important to note that intelligence is highly important, but also the ability to be unbiased and to be analytical and to basically have a high-minded ideal as your guiding post in making decisions or coming to conclusions. What I mean by that is quite simply, it is not just enough for one to observe different variables of a situation and consider that one thing might be a solution or another option might be viable, but it's also important to realize what is best for someone or what is best for the world in general and to aim toward obtaining that or coming closer to that. Anything that is aiding in the betterment of a person or the aiding in the betterment of the survival and happiness of an individual, provided that you're not harming or infringing on someone else's right, is actually what you should be aiming for. That said, I think that my motives are quite pure. I think that my vision is quite clear. And frankly, I think that alone qualifies me quite a bit compared to the average Joe. Moving on from there, I am not one to be brainwashed. I am not one to come in with predetermined understanding of something without being willing to do my homework about a particular situation or thing or happening or event or personality. I also have a deep interest in a variety of subjects, and as a polymath, there's that word again, it is my prime objective to know about as much as I possibly can. And so I don't just study things that are going to benefit my life in some direct way. I study things that entertain my fancy or that I find to be in any way relevant to myself or others around me or others not even around me somewhere else in the far distant land. Okay? Or even sometimes not even in this time. I will study something that is relevant to someone in a previous time or that might hypothetically be relevant to someone in a future time. So I don't necessarily limit how I understand things, limit how I view things, limit how I interpret things in such a way that is based on what benefits me now or anything like that. What I'm trying to say is my mind is an open book and I am constantly filling it with words, documents, photographs, explanations, charts, and graphs. And that is what I think is one of the most important parts of living, to see everything that you can and observe it, understand it, internalize it, gain wisdom within it, and then be able to share that understanding and enlightenment with others. And because I take such a responsibility in this process, meaning that I choose to live for this cause, I'm not self-centered or small-minded like a lot of people, and therefore I see a lot of things and study a lot of things and care about a lot of things that have absolutely nothing to do with me. I just have an interest in this world, I have an interest in the universe, I have an interest in nature and how it functions. I have an interest in human psychology and what causes people to do certain things, think certain ways, and have certain beliefs, really. And so I am constantly a student of life and of the universe, and I think the best master is the best student. So as long as I'm continuing to learn and continuing to grow and continuing to have knowledge on a variety of subjects, I think I'm applying myself to more things and making myself really applicable to more scenarios and questions and problems. That said, another point that I want to make that qualifies me more than the average Joe is that I actually have a humanitarian heart. What I mean by that is I try to find the part of someone that agrees with me and unite with that person on those grounds. In other words, I'm empathetic, so I have a heart for those that cannot defend themselves or suffering through tribulation that they're a victim of, either accidentally or by way of someone else making them the victim. So because of that, I think I have the humanitarian spirit that is immediately necessary to solve problems and help people with their situations and just enlighten people with a high-minded ideal. And here's the problem with a lot of people. When they're children and then as they're adolescents, they have great aspirations, they have a wonderful imagination, and the world seems vast to them. But as they get a little older, the world starts pummeling their soul and knocking them down and telling them what they can or cannot do and reminding them of how to obey and reminding them their place in the world. And the whole factor of money and paying bills and struggling and all this takes a part of their life and makes them really in this situation where they have to either take the safe road or risk everything. And most people are not willing to risk anything, let alone everything. So you really have to be completely committed and devout, almost like a monk, to go about life having a complete hope and faith in what you believe in and having your high-minded ideal as part of your guiding light to live every day. So that said, it's really important to have someone in your life, if you're one of those many people, the vast majority, I don't know if it's 95 or 98 or 99%, who have over time allowed life to take the dreams away from them, and the life force that enables them to believe in these dreams has been taken out of them. And it's important for someone like that to have someone like me who, for better or worse, is clinging to an ideal that I've always had for my whole life, especially in my adolescence, where I really felt like it was time for me to forge my way into the future and achieve these ideals. And although many ideals are essentially there just to hope for and to strive for, it's really important to know that sometimes they cannot happen, and sometimes you have to recalibrate and decide what to do and where to go from here and how to make the most out of what you have. Sometimes you can play your part in achieving an ideal, but if your ideal involves other people or a setup that involves other people, you're counting on people who may not come through for you. So by living up to something someone else might not live up to, you're shortchanging yourself, expecting everything to work out. So in those cases, some people become jaded and they start giving up on ideals and principles, when really they need to recalibrate and realize it's time to see things in a more realistic way. Hold on to your ideals and principles, but see things in a realistic way enough so that you can survive and cope with this fallen, imperfect world. That said, I think it's important for someone who is going through a crisis or a situation that is damaging them to have someone nearby who is strong in their conviction and is still believing in greater things, and it can kind of remind them sometimes of what they already know, or perhaps shine some light in a way that they haven't considered before. And that's what I'm here for. So all these qualifications and more, I think, are sufficient enough for me to be more qualified than the average Joe. And if that's not enough for you, I think here's one that will nail it. Since when did someone have to have the affirmation of another person to decide to be something or to dream of something? Since when do you have to have confirmation from other people that your dream is valid? Since when do you have to have confirmation from others that your belief in yourself is with proper merit? Since when did you have to wait on others to validate you before you can become or think or be anything? See, that's one thing that I agree with a lot of people who've succeeded. They all agree that you have to believe in yourself and you have to project yourself into the future, meaning you have to see what you want to be and then make steps toward becoming that. And you cannot count on other people to understand you, approve of you, anything like that. And if you're really trying to accomplish something worthwhile, people are going to stand up against you way more than they're going to support you. You're just going to have to accept the fact that probably 70 to 90% of the people will not understand or outright defy you. It is part of your journey if you're trying to achieve something great. So I'm not going through this journey of life expecting people to stand behind me and support me as much. It'd be nice, you kind of hope for it, and you get it once in a while. Sometimes you get it for just a little bit and then they fade away. Sometimes people just lose interest because of something going on in their life, or because of the possibility that you're now moving on to territory they can't comprehend anymore, and you're losing them because they're not able to move and grow with you. So I think it's important to basically decide what you want to be and then become it, and not worry so much if someone else approves or not. Now, it's good to have certain people around you in your life who you can count on for sound advice, who can support you and approve of things or disapprove of things, but ultimately you have to believe it yourself, and ultimately you have to understand it and act in it yourself. So it's good to have advisors, it's good to have people around you to help give direction, but ultimately, even if I'm giving direction to you or someone else, they have to understand what I'm saying and believe it for themselves before they can truly put it to action. And the same thing with me and other people. If someone else were to give me an advice about something or give me an admonition on some issue I'm dealing with, it is useless to me unless I understand it, believe it, and then apply it. So I think I have many qualifications to be a polymath, to be a Renaissance man. I think I've proven that I'm already one. It's just a question of finance and getting my name out there and affecting more lives and making a greater impact on the world. That said, I hope this answer satisfies you, and I hope that I have fully hit all the targets of the question that you were pinning me at. And thank you very much for your question. For anyone else that has a question, send it to AskPolymathGeddy@gmail.com, or you can go to Twitter and hashtag question me. The hashtag would be AskPolymathGeddy. Although that's not really a very convenient way for me to accept questions, I am leaving that out there for you guys. And Facebook, my official page is Geddy Friedman, Polymath and Renaissance Man, or it's just facebook.com/Geddy Friedman. That's me. That's me. And that's all for now. So thank you very much for your questions, and I will be back with more videos as time permits and as opportunity to film permits. Thank you very much.